Kia ora tātou I tēnei ahi. Good afternoon. Kia hapai ngā kupu tuatahi ki te tāhuhu matapau. Kia hora tamarino, kia whakapapapau na mu te moana, kia tere te kārohi I rungi I te rai o te tangata. I go to the Creator, and I'm selective with my words, so I don't offend that religion, and that religion. So that blessing comes upon the forehead of us who walk on earth, Mother Earth, in the beautiful sunrise and sun that shines on us. Ki te honga ko whetu rangitia, ko huri hea hei karupi ata mō matariki, o koutou whānau, o mātou whānau, rātou katoa, hoki atu koutou ki tō Hawaii ki nui, tō Hawaii ki roa, tō Hawaii ki pāmamao, moi mai ruti tariki. Your loved ones, my loved ones, those who are lost in other parts of the world, that we remember them, we remember all people who are lost for various reasons. And I won't tell you what those reasons are. We farewell them, go home to that special place, and you will have a name wherever you come from. And we definitely have a name for that place where they will rest in this part of the world called Aotearoa. Koutou e pupuru te ihi te mana te wehi te tapu. Haramai ki te parapara, ngā mara o kirikiri roa, ngā mara ātāhua. Haramai I rungi te reo karanga o te manu kāhui, o Paula Southgate. Te manu kāhui o kirikiri roa. Koutou ngā mema o te whare miere kei kone, Tim, nui te mihi atu ki a koe, ka nui te mihi atu ki a koe, Dan, whai ngā tūranga. Ka nui te mihi atu ki a koutou o te hāpori, huri no I roto o Waikato, Maniopoto, Waipa, koutou I hara mai ki te whakarongo ki te hui ātau, o te puna oranga o Waikato, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou. So from all our dignitaries that are here today, from Mayor Paula Southgate, which probably will get up and say some words shortly. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you to this part, to our beautiful gardens behind us, one of our special places in Kirikiriroa that we can celebrate and honour. And it was great to come here at the opening of another garden that we had, myself, Paula and others, the Egyptian gardens. So I know about carvings, but when I walked down there, I was trying to interpret the patterns of that culture. And I think I've got some worked out. I'd like to do a test and get an Egyptian to mark me if I'm on track or off track. So every country around the world will have patterns. And when I see your pattern, I can tell straight away which country you come from. So when we moved around the world, you want them to look at that person and say, I know where that person's from. I can tell straight away. But sometimes they can't do that because some of the birds fly in another bird's domain and they change their name. But never mind, that's the nature of people on planet Earth. Nō reira koutou e huitahi nei ana te puna oranga e mihi ana ki a koutou katoa. Tēnā koutou, he mihi aroha oki, mai te ngākau o te kingi ki a koutou katoa. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and we'll listen to some beautiful words from Trust Waikato. Songs and the time was the farmer, who had a lovely lady who was way apart. And I think we'll catch that. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koutou, ko tai mai nei, ki te whakanui te kaupapa o tēnei pō. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Parongia te moanga, ko Waikato te awa, no Kirikiri roa ahau, ko Blackmore toku whānau, ko Mel toku ingoa. Good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you this evening to the Te Puna o Waikato Trust Waikato annual public meeting. Kia ora also to those joining us through the live stream tonight. My name is Mel Blackmore and I am the Business Manager for Trust Waikato. This is a special occasion for staff and trustees to host our community in person. It's the first time we've been able to do this since 2019. No welcome would be complete without a few housekeeping messages. If, in the event of an emergency, we need to evacuate, please exit on the right and out to the grass out the front of the pavilion. The bathrooms are in the foyer on your left, and if you require any assistance during the evening, we have plenty of staff here to help you. I would just like to acknowledge the many members of the community that have passed on their apologies for this evening. This includes members of Parliament, Barbara Kruger, Jan Taniti, Tim van der Molen, the Waipa Mayor Jim Milchrist and Otahonga Mayor Max Baxter. We are privileged to have guest speakers with us this evening who will open and close proceedings. We will also hear the Chair's report and the presentation of the annual financial statements of the financial year ended 31st of March 2022. Our speakers will all be introduced individually during the evening. There will be opportunity for public questions and comment towards the end of our agenda. Thank you once again for being with us this evening to celebrate a year of community achievement and impact. We will now play a short video and I will then pass over to Dennis Turton, our Chief Executive. Nō reira, tēnā tātou katoa.
Trust Waikato 2021 to 2022 Community Impact. In the past year, Trust Waikato granted $25.5 million to 560 community projects that deliver on our strategic priorities for impact, facilitating improved outcomes for the highest need communities in our region, enhancing the well-being of children, young people and whānau, increasing resilience and connectivity in rural small communities, and increasing strength-based initiatives that achieve positive outcomes for Māori. We strengthen the community sector by supporting key stakeholders to strategically increase their capacity and capability, facilitating conversations about partnerships and investing in collaboration, enabling change-maker organisations through investment and innovation. We are guided by 4 strategic pou: Te Tiriti o Waitangi, Sustainability, Equity and Impact. Over the past year, we began actioning our sustainability framework across our operations, grant-making and investment portfolio and became a signatory of the Funders' Commitment on Climate Action. We gained Gender Tick accreditation, an important endorsement of our commitment to equity. $1.5 million was granted to 34 COVID-19 response projects to support our resilient frontline groups stepping up to serve their communities. Puna kōrero sessions were established to connect virtually and hear from experts. Te Puna Hapari, an impact investment fund created in cooperation with Brightlight, secured its first deal this year. Designed in close consultation with communities, The fund is a way for progressive investors to effect community-level change and aims to be a wellspring of life for communities. We look forward to working with you to build vibrant, resilient Waikato communities.
Kia ora everybody and welcome to tonight. Before I introduce Mayor Paula, we do have one apology that we haven't acknowledged at the moment, and that's our Chair Vicky McLennan. Her husband came down with COVID this morning, so she's self-isolating and is really disappointed that she's not here, but I'm sure that she's looking at us through that camera over there. So, hello Vicky, how are you? We're doing everything we can. Mayor Paula, this is I think our third crack at trying to get this together. We've had COVID come into play for the last 2 years, and it is so great that we are coming together, albeit we understand that there is still COVID in our community and sickness in our community, but it is so great to be together and so great to have you here finally to come and talk to the community and be part of it as well. I do want to acknowledge, Paula, your contribution to community and the work that you have done, not only in your role as Mayor of Hamilton, but in your previous role as Chair of Waikato Regional Council, and we're seeing the fruits of that labour coming to fore now. And I do want to acknowledge also how important you see community consultation within your role as Mayor and as leader of the council as well. And it's important that we do have that consultation with community, because as we know, and all of you will live and breathe it, the best answers do come from community as well, and not people sitting in offices pushing pens. So I do acknowledge the work that you're doing there. And I know that we're up for elections and we can't sort of say anything too much, but obviously you've got the free floor and with a lot of people moving on there. So without further ado, thank you, Paula, for please go on.
Should I move this up a weeny bit? Should you? How do you do it? Is there a way? Oh yeah. Thank you. Always when I'm speaking, always. Ko te atua tō tātou piringa ka puta ka ora. Tui e te rangi e tū nei, tui e te papa e takato nei. Tui e te kupu mihi kia koutou te puna o Waikato. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you for those very kind words, Dennis. I'm going to trade kind words with you because I have a lot of respect and gratitude towards Te Puna o Waikato, Trust Waikato, and the work that you do and how we work together. You're right, it's been a pretty weird 3 years, hasn't it? And last time I think I appeared, we were all on Zoom, navigating those funny little square boxes that we all looked down for some time. So it is beautiful to be here in person, especially as we come together in the spirit of community and to help each other. I delivered, as I say, the speech last year by Zoom, and I'm over Zoom. I really am over Zoom. I'm into people and over Zoom, but it still has its place. I noted in August 2021 that things were pretty tough for people. That's a year ago. And I predicted back then there would be some more speed bumps in the road for New Zealand and Hamilton Kiriroa. And I was right, but we knew that was coming. And we also know that we're not out of the woods yet, that there are still some challenges ahead of us, as you noted. Our community is still suffering the impact of COVID, both at a community level and at an economic level, and a post-personal level with health. The current environment will remain difficult to navigate, and we're seeing that now compounded with things like inflation being so high, rising interest rates, the cost of living, and it is really hurting people at the heart of it. These divisions in our society are not insurmountable, but we need to work through those challenges. One thing we can agree on, though, is that our philanthropic sector is probably more needed and more stretched than ever before. So again, I do want to say how deeply thankful I am for all of those involved in Trust Waikato in the past and present, for acting as the kaitiaki or guardians of our city. Your whole council appreciates it, and I am here with a couple of colleagues, Councillor Kesh and Councillor Maxine. I haven't seen anyone else. If I missed anyone, I apologise. I want to briefly mention two things tonight around our external funding program. And actually I could talk on a number of things because we've partnered on lots and you have contributed to so much around the wider community that I would take all evening if I were to comment on it. This year, Hamilton City Council reviewed its external funding program, and I know you had some input into that. We worked together on it. I'm a big proponent of partnerships. I've always said, and I will continue to say it as a city, we can achieve a lot more when we work in conjunction with each other and other organisations, whether they're philanthropic organisations, businesses, or government. We just can't do it alone. You don't get far by paddling your waka with one oar. So as a consequence, we reviewed a city investment program led by our Chief Executive, Lance Vervoort, who many of you do know. The program brings together the best people, partners and city investors and philanthropic donors, all focused on a shared vision for the city. And I'm very positive about this initiative and very excited about what it can deliver. I believe only through a shared commitment to projects will we make significant and positive progress for our city and communities. These projects are already strongly aligned to community funder and donor aspirations so that we're not all going in different directions, but that we agree on what the priorities are. But Hamilton City Council wants to set those priorities with you, not for you, but to work alongside you. I sincerely look forward to working with great collaborative projects that we know are coming and will emerge from this mahi. Finally, I want to just express my gratitude for the help that you continue to provide our wonderful Waikato Museum. I've chosen to focus on that tonight. Recently, because of your support, we were able to purchase Pa paintings 1 to 4 by Star Gossage of the Ngāti Wai, Ngāti Ruanui descent. She is one of New Zealand's leading Māori artists, born in Otarahanga, and it's very, very exciting to be able to secure some of her work and keep it right here in the Waikato in our museum. I don't know if you've seen them yet. If not, you must get along because they're simply spectacular. They're also very emotional and evocative paintings, a real stunning example of her work. Star's work is already held in several private and public collections, including the Auckland Art Museum, Te Papa, and at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade by the James Wallace Arts Trust. And now, most importantly, thanks to you, they're in the Waikato Museum, Te Whare Taonga o Waikato. And this has given us the opportunity to reiterate our commitment to elevating the artistic practice of wahine Māori and women in general within our collection. At the time, Dennis noted it was special to have these paintings find their home here in the Waikato, and I agree, but we couldn't have done it without you. I'm also aware that the Trust generously donated its Arts and Taonga collection to Hamilton in 2015. That strategic partnership between the Trust and the Waikato Museum provides funding to grow our collection and keep or bring significant artworks to our city and the wider region, which is incredible. And this is important because it sits alongside the investment that we as a council have endorsed through our long-term plan, Maxine and Kesh, when we put money towards upgrading the climate protection within the museum, so it's a climate-controlled environment with the new entranceway, and also expanding our entranceway to make it more friendly from the riverside, so that we become a truly riverside experience. So I want to thank you for that. I want to raise these issues today because working in the philanthropic sector is never easy. Actually, it's really tough because there's so much need out there and there are so many requests out there. And in saying yes to some, you have to say no at the moment to others. But I'm a glass half full person, so I'm very positive, and I believe that through these kind of partnerships, we're getting so much good stuff done. And there's so much more to do. So thank you for inviting me here tonight. I appreciate it. I look forward to the speaker later on. I look forward to catching up with you. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Sorry, this happened to me as well. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Jaushanan tako inoa. My name is Maggie Jung. I'm the Finance and Investment Manager for the Trust. Tēnā koe, Mayor Paula. Thank you for sharing your lovely words, our beautiful kirikiriroa, and we really appreciate it. Next on our stage, we'll welcome our Co-Deputy Chair, Janice Ikitone, and she will talk about the Trust highlights of the year. Then our Co-Deputy Chair and the Chair of Finance Audit Risk Committee, Chris Flatt, will go through the financial statements and tell you the story behind the numbers. Now we'll welcome Janice.
Kia ora. No need to move that. He honore, he kororea, he maunga rongo ki te whenua katoa, whakaro pai ki ngā tangata. It's tuatahi mihi ki a koe e pā, matua tame mō kupu whakamoinati tēnei ahi pō. Ko Janice Ikitone tōku ingoa, ko Waikato Maniapoto tōku iwi, ko Tainui tōku waka. As Meg mentioned, I'm the Co-Deputy Chair for Trust Waikato, and it was up until 9 o'clock this morning, this was not my lane. But I'm happy to support our wonderful Chair and provide for you today her Chair's report, which you can also find in our annual report, which is available in the foyer kapai. So I'll head into that. Tēnā koutou katoa, greetings to you all. We just wanted to acknowledge that we have apologies from two of our trustees, as well as Vicky, Metua Tangaroa Daniels from the South Waikato area, and also Paminda Singh, who both won't be able to be here due to bereavements. Also take this moment in time to enable our trustees to introduce themselves to you all. So I'll invite them all up here to come and introduce themselves. You can see, here we go. Oh, here we go, here's the rest of us. So, which way should we start? Ladies first.
Tēnā koutou katoa, he uri tēnei no inia, ko kirikiriroa tuku whatimanua, ko Waikato te awa e mahia nei aku mā harahara, kei kirikiriroa aho e noho ana inainei, ko Anjum Rahman tuku ingoa, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Anjum, I've been a trustee for 4 years now, and a long-time resident of this lovely city. Been 50 years this year since we arrived in the country.
Kia ora, Anjum.
I won't play with this, I'll just do this. Kia ora tātou, ko Chris Flatt, taku ingoa. I'm one of the other co-deputy chairs, and I'll be giving the awesome and exciting financial report shortly. I know that's why you've come along. I've been on the Trust for 4 years now. Fantastic organisation and amazing staff who give so much to our community, so great to see you all tonight.
Kia ora koutou, I'm 5'8.5". I often describe myself as 5'9". I'd just like to acknowledge Tame. Thank you so much for welcoming us here today, and Mayor Paula. Dennis and the team, Trust Waikato was extremely well led. The staff are amazing. The work that they do makes it very easy for trustees. We simply set the direction and they execute on it day in, day out. So they are the ones that make the magic happen. So thank you so much. And I love giving speeches, so I'll stop.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Luba tuku awa, ko Romney tuku repo, ko Heperi ko tirana nā moana, ko Oko Horoi tuku tupu whenua, kei kirikiriroa e noho ana ahau, ko Anna tuku ingoa. Kia ora everybody, I'm Anna Casey Cox and I've been a trustee since 2018, and I just want to acknowledge you wonderful community. I work in the community and I understand the huge value of philanthropic funding, but just your amazing work. I just want to acknowledge that, so ngā mihi.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Robert Dole. I was appointed as a trustee August last year. It's been a huge privilege and honour to be invited to be a trustee. The staff, the trust, the organisation and all the community we're involved with do an amazing job. Waikato is a wonderful region. I'm so glad to raise my family in the city and in this region, and just it's really amazing the work that we do, and it's a privilege every day to be involved with Trust Waikato. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa, tuatahi e mihine ki te pantutua nari tarangi. My name is Chong Feng. I've been the trustee for at Trust Waikato for over 5 years. It's a great privilege to be on the board and to actually participate and contribute to the growth of the city and the community. It's great to see you all here and acknowledge to our mayor, Her Worship Paula Southgate. So I look forward to working with you in the near future, and hopefully we can get over this COVID-19 pretty soon, and we're back on track. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Barbara Stewart. I've been on the board for 3 years. It's a real privilege, but it's a real privilege to work with the community and to see what you're doing out there and what you're actually achieving. It really is a highlight of my monthly work, really, to come and catch up with you all. And I can see quite a few familiar faces in the audience. So thank you to everyone for coming out. This has been a really well-attended public meeting, and it's really good to see you here. And we look forward to receiving more applications from you for the good work that you're actually doing out there. So thank you very much.
Just leave that.
Kia ora tātou, ko Mike Nunaho, ko Moeho te Maunga, ko Tikapa te Moana, ko Haraki te Whenua. I live in Coromandel, and my usual job is working at the Coromandel Independent Living Trust. I'm also involved with the Supported Lifestyle Haraki Trust in Thames, the Span Trust here in Hamilton, and I've just finished 1 year on Trust Waikato, and I'm terribly pleased after a long association over many years as an applicant to Trust Waikato to be able to give something back and coming on as a trustee. I find the terrific people who are involved. I'd like to acknowledge Tame Pōkaya. I haven't seen you for a long time, Tame. Kia ora. Dennis as Chief Executive and all the staff. Vicky doing a fantastic job as chairperson. Thanks very much. It's great to be here, and tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora. Those are all our trustees. Kia ora team. Wide range of skills and diverse backgrounds. Trust Waikato had another incredible successful year, and we are proud to share some of the highlights with you. Following a brief sense of normality here in Aotearoa, the Waikato spent the second half of 2021 in different alert levels with geographic boundaries imposed due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Throughout this uncertain time, community groups and leaders stepped up once again with great resilience and commitment to support our most vulnerable communities. We're incredibly humbled by the agility and the strength of our community, who have continued to serve despite the immense challenges they have faced. Trust Waikato continued to support the urgent needs of communities with our COVID-19 Response Fund. 1.5 million was distributed through 34 grants to those serving on the front line. With support from the Waikato District Health Board, Ngā Te Whatu Ora, these funds helped enable the implementation of iwi-led responses throughout the region, ensuring the needs of local communities were met through the establishment of Manaaki hubs. These hubs were an example of our commitment to help facilitate positive outcomes for our communities by supporting strategic initiatives. The level of collaboration and dedication demonstrated through these community-led responses has also revealed our sector's strengths and ways forward. We established Puna Kōrero, trusted voices, sessions as a way to connect virtually and hear from community experts and champions about important COVID-19 health and safety practices and clarify the intricacies amidst vaccination rollouts and level change requirements. Throughout the past year, we approved 560 grants, totalling $25,465,079 towards community impact, significant capital, community response and COVID-19 response projects. These have contributed towards our vision for vibrant and resilient Waikato communities. This was the second highest grants contribution in the history of the Trust since founding in 1988 and included $11,248,013 towards 39 community impact grants, contributing to transformational change in our region. As a Trust, we began to establish our relationship with two strategic PO, sustainability and equity, which form an integral part of Trust Waikato and guide our work. We have two further PO in development, Te Tiriti o Waitangi and Impact, which we are excited to share with you in the coming year. Internally, the Trust gained the Gender Tick accreditation, meeting 5 criteria which encouraged gender equality in the workplace. This accreditation is an important endorsement of our commitment to equity and valuing the diverse needs of people. Trust Waikato began actioning our sustainability framework across the key areas of operations, grant making and our investment portfolio. In the area of grant making, we engaged a pilot project with community groups to better understand the impact of grants make towards climate change. With this information, we look forward to collaborating on a sector-wide emissions reduction plan. The Trust became a signatory to Climate Action Aotearoa, the funder's commitment on climate action. The 7-part commitment is guided by Te Tiriti o Waitangi and Mātauranga Māori aspirations. It focuses on a just transition, collaboration and leadership. Significantly, it includes reporting back to our communities and stakeholders the actions that the signatories undertake. Puna Hapori, an impact investment fund created by partnership with Brightlight, secured its first investment this year. The $14 million project will help alleviate the housing crisis by funding 2 new social housing projects, which will house 39 families currently living in substandard accommodation. Designed in close consultation with communities, Puna Hapori is a groundbreaking way for progressive investors to effect community level change and aims to be a wellspring of life for communities. During March, investment performance was impacted by the market downturn. Economic uncertainties have risen, which continue to cause volatility in the market. For the year ended 31st of March 2022, the annual return reflected the impact of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in overall investment returns of 4.84%, outperforming the portfolio benchmark of 3.94%. Trust funds are now valued at $431 million. While investment volatility has increased, Trust Waikato has healthy reserves to allow for a consistent grants budget for the year ahead. Our staff and trustees will continue to work hard to ensure Trust Waikato is best placed to meet the most urgent community needs to enable positive and long-term change. We'd like to thank our retiring trustees, Trevor Fellows and Michael Kedsley, for their valued time on the Trust Waikato board. Natalie Jessup, who left after holding the role of Communications Manager since 2017, thank you also. We warmly welcomed 2 new trustees, Michael Noon and Robert Dole, while the Trust Waikato whānau grew with the addition of Danielle, Lillian, and for a time Claire Rusk, as Mel and Molly were on maternity leave. Over the coming year, Trust Waikato staff and trustees look forward to surveying and collaborating to achieve transformational change and reconnecting kanohi ki te kanohi with our communities, whānau and friends here in Aotearoa and overseas. We sincerely thank you for your generosity and dedication to making a difference in all our communities. Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora. How did I go, Vicky?
Move this up a bit. There we go. Kia ora tātou. As I introduced earlier, I'm Chris Flatt. I'm one of the other co-deputy chairs. Just want to acknowledge our kamātua tonight and Mayor Southgate. There's a number of councillors here I can see around the room. Thanks for coming along, putting the time in. It's a busy time, I know, with local campaigns. We've got a few local MPs, I think, here as well. So thank you for coming along. And to all of you, for coming along on this very wet night, and also those who are watching online as well. But it is fantastic that we have such a big turnout here tonight. In my capacity, as I said, as one of the Trust co-deputy chairs and as the chair of the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee, the most fun subcommittee there is in any organisation, it is my great pleasure to report to you on Trust Waikato's financial report for the year ended 31 March 2022. Please note there are copies of this of the report in this copy here that you've got in your pack or on our website as well. I can report that the auditor has expressed an unmodified audit opinion on the full financial statements, meaning that the financial statements present fairly the financial performance and position of the Trust and comply with generally accepted accounting practice in New Zealand, being the Tier 2 Public Benefit Entities International Public Sector Accounting Standards. Told you it's the most fun, exciting committee. The financial statements in the annual report are the summarised financial statements. Comments tonight will refer to these summarised reports. I know a number of you would like to see the full reports. There are very comprehensive full reports as well on our website. It is important to point out that the Trust's mission is to invest wisely, grant effectively, and to be operationally agile. As outlined in the summarised statement of comprehensive revenue and expenses, investment income is the Trust's primary source of income. During the year, our investments earned $20 million. This has just decreased, as you've heard earlier, compared to the previous year due to the unfortunate Russian-Ukraine conflict and the ongoing impact of COVID-19 on the Trust's investments. After operating expenses of $3 million, grants and sponsorships of $28 million, the Trust was left with total comprehensive revenue and expenses for the year of negative $11 million. In 2021-2022, the Trust distributed $28.7 million to the Greater Waikato community. This included $28.6 million in cash grants. The full list of approved grants is available on the Trust website. I'll now discuss some key figures in those summarised statement of financial position. First, the Trust started the year with capital of $442 million. Of this, our opening investment portfolio totaled $439 million. The investment earnings of $20 million provided a return on investment of 4.84% after fees, compared to the benchmark return of 3.94%. The Trust invests in a range of financial assets through selected fund managers and owns 2 properties. That's Trust House and the main Trust building that many of you may have visited or used in terms of the meeting rooms there, a great asset. The managed fund investments are in various domestic and international funds, including shares, bonds, property, credit, private equity and infrastructure. The trust investment portfolio stood at $423 million as at 31 March 2022. The decrease of $16 million was due to cash drawdowns for the significant increase in grants distribution. And that was $28 million for the current reporting year compared to $18 million last year and $12 million the year before. So previously I talked about the total comprehensive revenue and expenses for the year after grants and sponsorships of negative $11 million. What happened to that? Well, the Trust maintains what we call an investment fluctuation reserve. You're getting into the meat of their meeting now. The purpose of this reserve is to set aside funds for the future periods of low returns to allow the Trust to continue providing grants to the community. This year, $11 million was transferred out of the investment fluctuation reserve to cover that net position of total comprehensive revenue and expenses. The investment fluctuation reserve is now $43 million, which is at a level that is considered sufficient to protect the Trust's capital in times of low returns. Trustees also have a commitment to preserve the Trust capital for the benefit of future generations. The Trust aims to maintain the initial capital, and that was in 1996, $169.8 million, with an adjustment for inflation and regional population growth each year. We call the adjusted initial capital the base capital value. This year, $24 million was able to be added to that base capital value from the investment fluctuation reserve to provide for inflation and population growth. And as you've heard, both of which are increasing considerably in New Zealand and in the region at the moment. Base capital value now stands at $340 million, and the value of the Trust fund is now well above that. So the Grants Reserve sets aside funds for the Community Impact Grant, which is aimed at bringing about transformational change in our community. The Grants Reserve remains at $46 million, with current commitments of $36 million towards community impact projects. So what's that mean in summary? Together, base capital value of $340 million, the various reserves for investments, grants, land revaluation of $90 million gives the total Trust funds a value of over $430 million. So in summary, the Trust is in a strong financial position. Because of the Trust's continued financial discipline, Trust funds have been built up to protect the base capital for future generations. The funds have been set aside to adequately protect Trust capital in times of low investment returns, and the Trust is now in a position to continue to provide grants to our community. Just so you're aware, if you were hanging out for a remit and a vote on these accounts, that was all done today earlier in our meeting. So we have had those audited financial statements and annual report for the year received by trustees, voted on, so we won't be doing that tonight. I know you might be a bit disappointed, but the trustees have done that piece of machinery and it was accepted. So those reports have been formally approved by trustees. Finally, can I take this opportunity to thank you all for the hard work and commitment you provide to our Waikato community. As you heard from our trustees earlier, it is an absolute honour to serve on this Trust because we get to see the work you're doing and help in our small way to support your journey and kaupapas. Your passion and energy for this region and its many diverse communities is greatly appreciated. So thank you again also to Dennis, all of the Trust team. They're amazing, they're committed to this work, and they just, as one of the trustees said earlier, make our roles as trustees very easy to be able to do. So it's a great honour working with them. So thank you again. I'll shut up now and I'll hand back to our chair, acting chair. Thank you, Janice.
Kia ora koutou, thank you, Chris. We now invite you to, and we open the floor for pārtai, for questions. If you had any questions on the Chair's report, on the work of the Trust, we invite you to make comment. And I will direct it to our front row. Ka pai. Kia ora, down the back. Is there a microphone or?
Oh, well, I'm more of a comment than a question. I'll come up or say it.
Ka pai. What do you want to do?
Kia ora koutou everyone. Thanks for the chance to, obviously questions and comments. I'm Jamie Strange, Member of Parliament for Hamilton East, so here representing the government. And just want to acknowledge Trust Waikato tonight, the trustees, Vicky watching online and all of the trustees here. I'd like to acknowledge Dennis and the staff, do absolutely fantastic work. For many years you run a really solid organisation, and I want to acknowledge you and your staff. Mayor Paula, councillors, philanthropic organisations and other trusts who are here today, and all of you who do excellent work out there in the community. The return on investment, 4.8, well done, particularly in these very uncertain times. I think that's really important to acknowledge that. And I just want to pick up on a couple of very quick things and then I'll hand over to others. But just in terms of the community support around the COVID response fund, it's been a challenging time, for many people during COVID, and unfortunately, those who often need more support in society have been hit harder. And I acknowledge the significant work that Trust Waikato, the significant investment that Trust Waikato have made in terms of funds like, programs like Here to Help You and others in terms of supporting people through COVID. And just in terms of collaboration and partnership, nothing great happens without partnership. And in terms of the government, the Waikato Regional Theatre, the Pan Pacific Hub, key projects like this and others where we're partnered with Trust Waikato and keen to continue partnering, to see some of these key impact projects. I know some of the aspiration in housing in terms of Bright Line, really exciting moving forward. So, very keen to continue partnering on those. Thanks for the opportunity to make a quick comment, and just like to acknowledge all the work you've done this past year. Thank you.
Ka pai. Any other whānau that would like to make comment? Kia ora whaia. Just want to give you a microphone. Is that right? Sorry.
Kia ora koutou, my name is Jenny and I'm the co-chair of the Rivoli Theatre and Arts Centre out at Hillcrest. And with another hat on, I also do some contract work as CEO for a performing arts trust that works nationally but is based here in the Waikato. Chris, I'd just like to say that despite the fact that the Finance Committee and all our organisations may or may not be the most exciting, let's face it, fiscal management is crucial. So I think we all respect and appreciate the people both in Trust Waikato and also our own organisations who not only understand and manage that for us but also can explain it to the rest of us. On behalf of Rivoli Theatre, I'd like to really thank the trustees. We so value your ongoing support. Like all community organisations, has been hard the last few years. We particularly value our ongoing partnership with our Stagecraft School. Without your support, we couldn't continue to offer the places that we do to young people from around the region who wouldn't otherwise have that opportunity. And we just love seeing their growth as they engage with the performing arts and go on from our school to do many other things in the community. So really just wanted to mention that. And also from PAC's perspective, your ongoing support for an activity that's a little bit different but allows some of our top artists to connect with other artists around the country at that very top level and highlights what we actually produce here in the Waikato. We're just as good as Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, and we like to show that. So thank you very much.
Rangi mahora? Koutou mā, haere mai.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Ellie Wilkinson. I'm here to show our appreciation to Trust Waikato. So I look after the community and development and support of services that are delivered out of the Settlement Centre Waikato on Boundary Road, which many of you will probably know as the old Marish Rugby Club rooms. So we are on a journey to build a fit-for-purpose facility to support the needs of our growing diverse communities. we couldn't do this without the support of Trust Waikato, and I just want to particularly thank Rongo and Tarita for helping us. You've always been at the end of the phone. It's been great to have conversations with you. It's been great to get your advice and support. Apart from COVID, we would have a building underway now, so we have a little bit of a delay because of the impact that has, but our great hope is that we can have something started next year. We've gone and had several versions of our plans, but we're still going to be building something that's fit for purpose and meets the needs of the community. So apart from supporting us operationally, we literally couldn't do this project without your support, so I just want to thank you very much for that.
Tēnei te mihi kia koutou, tēnā koe matua tame, to the Mayor, to the trustees of Trust Waikato, and to Dennis and the team. Ka nui te mihi kia koutou. Like Ellie, just really wanted to come up here on behalf of our trustees who couldn't make it today to express our sincere thanks for the resourcing that we've been given, not only in the grants every year, but particularly for our facility upgrade. And that, so we started it 6 years ago. We're currently building stage 2, and I think one of the things our trustees asked me to express was to let you know that the joy and the sorrow at the same time of receiving approval for the funding that was applied for was a very touching moment for us. And in particular, I wanted to say thank you because the sorrow was because they had hope that they could see the build completed before they passed. And for our kaumātua, that's a real reality. And so I want you to know the impact that you saying, giving us the tick and saying yes had for the kaumātua on our board and the kaumātua that we informed in kotahitanga during that particular week. So a huge mihi to you all. So ka nui te mihi kia koutou, kia ora.
Last one?
Yep, I'll be really quick. Hi everyone, I'm Heidi. I'm from True Colours Children's Health Trust. We're a 100% community funded organisation that supports children with serious health conditions and their families in the Greater Waikato region, and we're a grateful recipient of Trust Waikato's. We are 100% community funded. We couldn't do it without organisations like you. And obviously it's been pretty tough the last couple of years. The families we support are doing it really hard. We work really, we stand beside them to support them to grow their resilience while they're dealing with some pretty tough stuff in their lives. So yeah, just a big thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Kia ora everybody. I will make this really fast. I'm sure you're all dying to get home and fed, but I did want to take a moment to thank the trust and the team, not only for the funding, because obviously that is how we survive, but it's also the strategic leadership that you continue to provide and have done through what have been really, really challenging times. And even that ongoing investment in the capacity building side has just been fundamental. It's been frightening looking at what's been happening with investments, but understanding how good you guys are at managing this and ensuring that there is that egg that sits aside gives us, I think, a lot of relief. I also want to say thanks heaps to Rongo as well, who's providing a lot of support for us at the moment with our waiata practice as we come up to our conference. But your team is always available to everybody, and I'm sure we all feel that and we see it every day in the work that we do. So thank you very much to everybody. Ka kite.
Ka pai. Thank you everybody for those lovely sentiments. We love what we do. We enjoy working with our communities. We feel very privileged and honoured to be a part of the organisation, even for a short time or as employees and staff. Thank you very much. That's the business of the annual public meeting coming to a close, and now I invite Rongo to introduce our guest speakers.
Tēnā tātou katoa, ko taupiri te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko tainui te waka, ko Waikato mani o poto te iwi, ko Ngāti Māhuta teti o aku hapu, he mōkai a hau mo te kingitanga, ko rongo kūku taku ingoa no ngā rua wahi a hau, ko turanga wāwai tōku marae. Kia ora tātou, my name is Rongo Kūku and I'm the Pauhere Pūtea for Trust Waikato, and I'm in a privileged position and I love being in my role. And it's lovely to see you all this evening, and it's great to see you here as well, Alan. So nā kanui taku mihi ki a koe. Okay, let's get into focusing on what I'm here for. Ka nui taku aroha ki a koe kawena, ki a koe Kirsty. E kaha nei ki te hāpai i te kaupapa whakahirahira o Taurikura Aotearoa. I have the privilege of introducing the two co-founders of Taurikura New Zealand, Kawena Jones and Kirsty Barber. Kawena Jones affiliates to Ngāti Mahanga, Ngāti Haurua, and lives in Whatawhata, the heart of his people's rohe. His whakapapa links him strongly to Waikato, and for 7 years he held a portfolio manager's role at Waikato Tainui, where he established the Careers and Employment Centre and introduced social procurement programs to the tribe. Kawena is a representative of his marae and sits on Te Whakakitenga o Waikato Tribal Parliament. He also holds numerous board and trustee positions in the philanthropic and not-for-profit sectors, including serving as a treasurer for Te Ahurei Ārangatahi and chairs Te Tiriti Subcommittee for the Young Workers Resource Centre. Dr. Kirsty Barber has a long career in tertiary education and was employed for many years at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa as the developer and convener of He Korowai Akunga, a bicultural degree in adult education. She is also committed to the community sector and community development, in particular in the areas of Māori health and wellbeing, mental health and community and non-government organisation. Kirsty has also been a Te Tiriti o Waitangi trainer and developed a short course and programs around Te Tiriti and Te Ao Māori. She is an advocate for social equity in Aotearoa and has a research interest in these areas. Kirsty married into Ngai Ta Manuhiri, and through her late husband and children, connects to Ngai Ta Manuhiri, Rongo Whakaata, and Te Aitanga o Mahaki and Te Tairāwhiti, as well as Rongo Maiwahine and Ngāti Kahungunu. Further south on the east coast, she has lived in Whatawhata within the rohe of Ngāti Mahanga, Ngāti Haurua for 14 years and is actively involved in the activities of O Mairo Pā and the local hapu and community. Nō reira, nau mai haere mai korua, kei au korua te wā.
Tēnā tātou te whana. Ka tika me mihi atu ki a koe e taku whanaunga mo o kōrero hohonu. He honore he kronia he maungarongo ki te mata o te whenua e whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Whakahonore e tō tātou nei kingi a kingi tu heitia po te tau te whirowhiro te tuawhitu me te kāhui ari ki nui tōne pai pānerea ki a rātou. Ka tika me mihi atu ki a koe te pāpā tame, nau I whakawātea tēnā o ngā kaupapa. Ki a koe e te mire, o tira ngā kai kaunihira, ngā kai kāwanatanga, tēnei te tupu ki mihi atu ki a koutou. Ki a koutou e mātakitaki mai, I ringa I te pukumata, I ringa I te ipurangi, tēnei te mihi kawana ki a koutou. O tira ki a tātou kua tai mai, I ringa I te karanga, I ringa I te kaupapa o te pō.
Ko wai tēnā, hiri tēnā, ai, noko nei no Waikato, Ngāti Mahanga, Ngāti Haere o ku hapu, ko te papora te rau ko mairo o ku marae, ko Kawena Jones tōku ingoa, engari pai te ingoa kawe kia ora. Hey, look, firstly, I just want to echo, actually, all the thanks, the mihi to Trust Waikato, Te Puna o Waikato, and just really want to acknowledge all the mahi and certainly the investment that you guys have invested into the Waikato. And so tonight really is an opportunity for us as a recipient to talk to some of the mahi that we've been involved in, and specifically how we are looking to deliver on one, the priority around enhancing and strengthening Māori outcomes in our communities. Okay, let's hope that this works. Yes, it does. Also, I just really want to acknowledge those who are joining us here online, whether you know it or not. A lot of what we do, we often have found ourselves doing this online on Facebook, and so it isn't foreign to us having to speak to a whole bunch of nobody sitting in front of us, but we're kind of talking to people online. But look, just quickly, so we've been champions in the space around running a program called Mana Tangata Mana Māngai, which specifically focuses on civics education. Though it might not be civics education in the form of what some of us think it is, it's about embracing the true concept of community development, community innovation, and really kind of being active and taking innovative approaches to helping our community, one, to be better informed around local government, local policy and the decisions that are made, and then two, also how do we activate communities to be involved in local government. And so a lot of the mahi that we've been doing, actually what seems like a couple of years now, has only really been less than 1 year, but we've done so much in such a short amount of time. Ko wai maua, so we are Taurikura. Taurikura is a social enterprise that focuses specifically on driving cultural sustainability and supporting communities to thrive. But tonight we're going to share a little bit, really just a short snippet of some of the really exciting stuff that we've been involved in means of activating and supporting more Māori to stand across local government, and then supporting more Māori around understanding the mayhem, the jargon, and I guess some of the challenges that one goes through. And largely a lot of it has come out as a result of when I stood for council back in 2019. And I didn't want other Māori candidates to make similar mistakes that I did. And so we're going to be sharing with you just some of the tools and resources and also the workshops and programs that we've been running over the course of the last year.
Ka tautoko te mihi ki a koe mātua, mō tō karakia I tēnei e pō. Me koe hoki rongo, thank you for the intro, and also all the trustees. So yeah, we're very, very grateful for the support. We always said that we would have done this after Koe's experience, we would have done it anyway, but we do talk about this as being heart projects and wider journeys. So yeah, to get funded is lovely, and that's been a way of us being able to extend our reach as well. So yeah, strategic vision, knowledgeable and engaged communities, participating enthusiastically in local democracy. So that ties in with Trust Waikato's priorities of strength initiatives that enable positive outcomes for Māori in particular. And there's a reason for that. As Koe sort of mentioned earlier, we have many barriers into this space, but not many pathways. So that's been our big thing, is to try and create pathways. Māori have always been political. They've been amazingly political, incredibly, have very strong leadership in cultural and political structures. However, these spaces have not been very welcoming. They haven't been invitational, and especially for this new generation of rangatahi or young people. And that goes across the board. But we're focused particularly on these underrepresented communities, because in Waikato District we had the privilege of being the lowest turnout in 2019, 34%. And sadly, and no disrespect to anybody, the 34% who do vote for people like them. So what we've been trying to do is reach out into that 60% Help them understand, hey, everything that happens outside your front door actually is determined by local government and not necessarily central. So to try, Koe will probably talk about it a bit later too, but with the rangahoa, the research we've been doing, we've had people literally say to us, what's a ward? So that's what we call our tangata whenua cohort, people who are just Joe Blow in the community. So that's how big the barrier is between people involving and participating in civics generally, or seeing that they have a place. But as we all know, with some of the big complex decisions coming up, of course we have to have diversity, and some of the trustees talked about that earlier too. And of course communities have great strategies, ideas, people, so it's about collaborating with communities and not delivering services too. So once we actually can help people understand that diversity at the table will have a very positive effect on outcomes, then we can hopefully start really forging those pathways into those spaces. So yes, it's about having a voice and why it matters, actually recognising that, basically if we don't participate, and democracy only works if everybody gets involved. So if we don't participate, if we don't have that voice, and it's with a capital V deliberately, because it's having the power of voice to ensure that you're heard. So that's been one of the frustrations for Māori and for young people, is what's the point? Why would I waste my energy? Because nobody really cares what I have to say anyway. So ways of enhancing that voice and strengthening it. Diversity, as we can see in the trustees here, is incredibly important. If otherwise we get a very narrow focus if it's just same old people making the same old decisions about the same old issues. Increasing the diversity in local government changes the priorities, changes the conversations, changes the values that come into decision making in the kōrero. And I think when we all look ahead at some of the issues that we're facing as a world, as a planet, a lot of those cultural values from Māori have a really rich and important place in that decision making. I think that's, sorry, people think. Okay, so why are we doing this? We had the privilege of going to Te Wāhiki Mai, the local government NZ conference about a month ago, and this is where we adopted this, we were given approval to. The young elected members came up with this hashtag, making mokopuna decisions. So a lot of that kōrero, especially from the younger ones, was about, hey, 3-year terms, forget 3-year terms. We need to be making legacy decisions, we need to be making decisions, we are holding a space for those to come, and we need to be making mokopuna decisions. So the course we have this year is exciting. We now have Māori wards, but we're greedy. We want Māori in general seats, we want Māngai Māori, we want Māori wards, we want the whole lot, because every lens gives a different perspective. As Nanaia said, we were gratefully brought into the whānau whānui of Te Marawata Roku Whakahaere, the Māori arm of LGNZ, and we were privileged to hear Nanaia speak a couple of times. And like she emphasised, there are big complex issues coming for all of us, not just local government. And a lot of that's about the local government reform that's coming. Key to that is the relationship between central and local government and the balance not only of power but also resourcing. Obviously things like Three Waters, Te Manawa Te Wai, co-governance arrangements, which by the way have been working really successfully for ages, so please don't buy into those dog whistles. And of course the huge one for everybody, climate change mitigation.
Ka pai. So we know that one can't work with the other two, and so we purposely and intentionally take a three-pronged approach to mana tangata mana māngai. So obviously one of them is standing on the research that we've been doing actually across the course of this particular project. And so there have been some really clear themes that have come out as a result of some of the research that we've been conducting, which actually sadly, prior to getting into this space, here in New Zealand there is very minimal research done specifically that focuses on finding solutions to better engaging communities around civics education itself. Though there's been many attempts to some degree, we don't largely agree with it because a lot of it focuses on really just how to be a good civil person in your community, where it really is about how do we activate our communities to actually be better involved in civics education itself. The other two programs that we run in Mana Tangata Mana Māngai is what we call Māngai Taunaki, which ultimately focuses on supporting candidates. So again, it's come out as a result of certainly my experience and some of the experiences of incumbents, current counsellors who have found it increasingly difficult to navigate the system, but also to understand how do you even campaign. And so this particular project focuses on getting behind candidates to support them around, getting your pitch right, understanding, knowing your community, getting out how to campaign, all of those kind of key things that are crucial to actually running a successful campaign. The other one is a Hui a Hapori, which effectively is a community kind of workshop. That is really around, because one, obviously you have candidates, but so you've got you've got voters, but voters need candidates to vote for. So Māngai Taunaki sits in behind that so that Māori people actually see people who look and sound like them, and as an outcome of that, the increase of voter turnout will happen. And so all of this kind of coincides with one another, and we are intentional about running these, taking a three-pronged approach. Without getting too much into the research, there's been some really key themes that have come out actually back in 2019, though many have maybe heard of this before. Trust Waikato released a report that focused on young voters. So there seems to be this misconception that young people and even Māori aren't politically aware or astute. The bottom line is that they just don't want to be involved because, one, it's not conducive. They don't see themselves in those spaces because they don't feel supportive. And so by taking a three-pronged approach with one, supporting candidates to stand one, and then mobilising voters, will all help to boosting Māori participation and engagement in local politics.
So what came out also of our tangata whenua cohort, what we understood, what is a ward, and as Koe said about young people, we realised, it's not my demographic, you may have noticed, what we realised that we needed to have a reach out into those rangatahi communities. So we've been blessed. The third wheel on our trike, Ree has been running kind of our social media and things, and she is very involved in kapahaka, works a lot with youth. So we have a wonderful cohort of 3 young women who have been developing TikToks for us. We call them Mohi Orane, did you know? And they have gone through every aspect of, what is a council? What do councils do? Which councils can I vote for, etc. All of those basics. What is local government? And then finally the 5 W's that we talk about, which is wai, whenua, whānau, whare and waka. So those are kind of our po, and they help people understand that in each of those areas, if they walk out their front door, local government and local councils have everything to do with that. Yep, I think that's the next one, yeah. So as Koe said, this is our Māngai Taunaki. Dan, I saw him somewhere. We just had a wonderful event last week called Making Mokopuna Decisions, Māori Champions in Local Government out of the Mairopa. Dan was one of our speakers. He's running an excellent campaign, by the way. I vote for him. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. But what we had was we had a tuakana panel, which again, using those Te Ao Māori values and approaches. So we had the wonderful Tipa Mahuta, who says things like, when we're in the room, they have to talk with us instead of talk about us. She just drops pearls wherever she goes. And Kataraina Hodge, both of whom have been elected unopposed into Waikato Regional Council. We had Lisa Thompson, who's the Whangaroa District Council for Waikato District Council. And Arama Ngapel, who's a councillor but standing for mayor in South Waikato. And Hinga Few, who's on the Kawhia Community Board. So they were wonderful, being able to talk to our candidates and offer their pearls of wisdom, and then we had the candidates themselves, of course, able to speak and get feedback from our tuakana. This is you now.
Yeah, so look, just quickly, I'm mindful of time, so we're only given 10 minutes. We've surely gone over that, I think. Look, this really is just a small picture of some of the highlights. So we've been really fortunate in the sense that media have been really good supporters of this particular work, and I think it's largely come out of the fact that there just isn't enough of this type of stuff out in the community. So I want to especially acknowledge Radio Live, what was Radio Tainui Live, sorry. Especially want to acknowledge Tainui Live actually for their ongoing support around the mahi that they've been supporting us with. But yeah, so this really we've run a number of different online series, a number of different tinana workshops, all with the intention of supporting candidates to stand and mobilising communities to vote. This is kind of our little hooray kind of part. So we have 55 Māori standing across the Greater Waikato in local elections. Look, I mean, honestly, we won't take all the credit for that mahi, because obviously half of the job for us was done when Māori wards were invited in. It certainly helped us to kind of segue or launch off that particular platform. But this for us is actually an amazing achievement, and we're really, really fortunate also to be working closely alongside those candidates who are standing in local government.
And the third arm of our kaupapa is hui hapari. So we've been able to get out to communities. You know, unfortunately, when you go to marae, you get impeded by not impeded, but unfortunately things like tangi happen, and then we have to change our arrangements. But we've had a really great chance to talk to people on the grassroots level, and we've had some real pearls. So these are the things, like Koe said, you know, if we don't have candidates, we can't say to them, look, it's worth you getting out to vote because this is who you can vote for. There's no way we're going to engage people. But what we're helping everybody understand is, hey, and we've got, we met somebody just today who's on the Tuako community board who heard us talking about Kaji Ngātaki. So, I mean, these communities are really energised, and they're doing some amazing things. So it's just, again, about creating that tūhono, that connection, those pathways, and together we can achieve, unleash the power of community. These were just some gems we learned from our community wānanga. I learned how important it is to know how much our vote counts and how important it is to get them behind people to support them for council. Another great thing about being Te Ao Māori is intergenerational. You know, you don't siphon off the young people or siphon off the old people. So we've had our kui and our aunties saying to the rest of the rōpū that's gathered, we need to get behind our Māori candidates. I witnessed generations coming together. We can see the urgency, and this is now our time and opportunity. So we're finding that people are getting that real sense that this is a historical, once-in-a-generation opportunity for good change. And we have one of our rangatahi who's now going for because of this kaupapa, has now been selected to go on the Tuia Leadership Program, their Task Force for Jobs, and has also now just put her hand up to be on the Huntley Community Board. She's 18. So this is one of the things that she said. So one of the partai we were saying is, what do you want in a candidate? And hers, be real, know your stuff, and be hearty. And that seemed to us just to sum up everything.
Ka pai. So look, just in closing again, tupuna o Waikato, tēnei te tukumiha te kia koutou. O tira koutou katoa ko tai mai ringa te kaupapa, and just really want to acknowledge the awesome mahi that everyone is doing, and look, we just wish those who are looking to stand in council all the very best. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kawe, Kirsty. Kei runga noa atu kōrua. Mana tangata, mana māngai, strengthening our voices and shaping our futures. These two are a fine example of what mana tāne, mana waihere can do together, and also supporting mana tangata. So I think that the time that you shared with us and the mahi that you've been delivering out into our communities has been quite impactful, which started off with a project which was only supposed to be focusing actually on the Waikato District Council area, has actually morphed into something that's quite big across our region, but actually nationally. So they've had this reach that's very, very exciting, I have to say, and congratulations on bringing the voices of our people through 55 people. Which, of course, these 55 people belong to 55 whānau, and of course you know how we roll in Māoridom, 55 hapu, and the iwi that come with it. So, ka nui taku mihi, aroha kia korua anō, and all the best for the next hui that you're going to be having in a couple of weeks' time. Nō reira, tēnā korua. Yeah. Thank you. And I will hand it over to Dennis.
Again, thank you for that. I think it's quite inspiring when you can see a heart project come together like that and inform our communities. And I really like what you said, Kirsty, that we need to be, our leadership needs to be reflective of our communities and the work that you're doing will ensure that. I know that we've been sitting down for a long time and there's a little bit of food and a cup of tea waiting for us, but I do want to take the opportunity to introduce my team as well. You've heard my name too much tonight, and I'd like my team to come forward, and I'll do the intro so that we won't be here all night, so come on. One of the things that you'll find with the team is that humility is one of the paramount values that we have. We don't like to be centre stage. We like our communities to be centre stage. But I want to acknowledge Mel, Maggie, Tarita, and Rongo, Nita, and especially Danielle, who's put tonight together, and who's due to fly home on Saturday to San Francisco for a couple of weeks. Jasmine and Jade. We got some great news a couple of weeks ago that Jade is pregnant and due to have a baby in December. That's another trust baby since we've had gender tick accreditation come through. Part of that is making sure we have over and above maternity leave and all sorts of things as well. So that's great. And at the end there we have Lily, who's covering for some maternity leave, but actually is going to stay with us, and she probably doesn't know that just yet, but is going to stay with us for a bit longer as well. Right throughout COVID, this team has not stepped back and let things lie. We have worked really hard, not only to ensure that our communities were supported through COVID and supporting the good work that was going on out there, but actually we did a lot of strategic stuff as well. We've put into place 4 strategic pro that you've heard about today, and we hear about housing crisis, we hear about health crisis. Actually, we've got an equity crisis, and we need to be thinking about how we can solve that. And we heard tonight, some of the ways that we can do that. And this team has put together all of that work that the trustees have signed off on. And I just want to thank them for all of their hard work and acknowledge them as well in front of all you, our community. Thank you. I do want to acknowledge trustees as well. We have a fantastic board. They work hard. They give their time freely. We load them up with plenty of reading before board meetings, I can tell you. But their heart is in it when they come together. The community is the thing that drives them, and that is really pleasing to see. And it's been spoken of tonight around the diversity of our board, and so we're reflective of our communities, and the conversations are different, the decisions are different, they are better, let me tell you that. Finally, there's been too much think of us tonight actually. We like to thank you, the community. What we do really is just pass some money through and make sure that you can do the good work that you do. Without our communities, we wouldn't be anything we are. And I think we have something special in the Waikato. And Mayor Paula, I think that you mentioned that in your talk tonight around how special the Waikato is in Tame. We talked about it earlier too when we caught up before we started this evening about there's a Waikato way that we do things, and we can never forget about that humility, thankfulness and all the rest of it. So we are very appreciative of the work that you do, and we thank you for that. Enough of me now, and I'd like Tame to come through and just close the evening off before we go and have some food and a bit of a cup of tea.
Kia ora, Dennis, thank you. And what a lovely occasion to come back to these AGMs. Remember travelling all around different parts of the Waikato, Hauraki, Maniapoto to AGMs all over the region, and seeing what not only in our region is doing, but what other regions are doing too, and supporting those regions, having the AGMs there. But the thing you do miss are the people that you see when you go to those AGMs. You can do funding, but a lot of people I've seen out in the community over the many years that I've been, and the many chairs and board members I've seen change in this organisation, and I'm so blessed that I'm still standing. So that's why I'm going to go to the Creator to give thanks, so that He makes me stand for many more years. E te kai hanga o te rangi me te whenua, pā mai tō aroha, I runga i a mātou katoa, ngā memo o te puna ora, engari o te mea nui o ngā memo o te hākori. Me o rātou nei pōtai rangatira e mau ana hei hāpai. I ngā ringaringa me ngā kauri i roto i te hākori. Koe nei mātou e whakawhetai rungi te ingoa tō mātou kai whakaora o ake ake. Amen. Tēnā koutou. Thank you.
Tūtira mai nā iwi, tātou tātou e. Tūtira mai nā iwi, tātou tātou e. Whai